So I encourage people to start with video and then strip out audio and then turn it into written word and then put it onto all the different platforms in a systematic, step-by-step way.
Welcome back to the Talking Web Marketing Podcast with myself, Ilana Wexler. This is a show where we reveal the best tips, tricks and tactics to increasing your website traffic and then converting that traffic into leads and sales. We also discuss what's working right now in the ever-changing world of web marketing so you can apply it to your business. Welcome to episode 27 of the Talking Web Marketing Podcast. Before we get stuck in today's show, which is a very interesting show, I want to ask you if you have managed to go to our website to download our free video course. This is a free video course where I go through how you can create a profitable and holistic ad campaign. Holistic, I mean by being on multiple platforms, not just one platform. So it's a free video course. It's probably about 8 to 10 hours of free video content. So if you go to greenarrowdigital.com/free-video-course, you can register for that free video course there. So be sure to check it out. So today's episode, I am interviewing an interesting lady under the name of Nicola Cairncross. Nicola is not new to the world of online marketing, and she actually has a very interesting background, which she talks about in today's episode, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of value hearing about. But besides having an interesting story, she is also up to some pretty interesting things now. Now, she currently runs an agency called Clicks and Leads, where she helps people get their business out into the wonderful digital world using a method she calls Be Everywhere Online. So I believe she does this for businesses as well as teaches people how to do it. So without further ado, let's get stuck in today's show. So welcome to today's show, Nicola Cairncross. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Ilana.
It's lovely. So for those of you who don't know you, I've actually known you online, have actually met you in person many, many years ago, very briefly. Do you mind giving us a little bit of a background about yourself and what you've done online in the past and I guess what you do now?
Okay, cool. Well, I'm 56 years old, and until the age of 38, I was a dismal failure. I always knew I was bright, but I could never seem to do better. I could never seem to find my niche. I kept taking a job and hating it, going in and reorganising it, doing well at the interview, and then 18 months later, I was bored stiff. I was very good at going in and setting up systems and absolutely hopeless at following them. So then I'd move on. I never seemed to be able to earn enough that I thought I was worth. And I tried absolutely everything, from being a fashion designer to being a salesperson for classified ad space to working in record labels. Just terrible. I just couldn't settle on anything, really. I thought the fashion was it, but then I didn't get to go to the college of my choice. So that really disappointed me. And I just kept moving on. And when I got to about the age of 27, I met my to-be future husband, and he was in the music industry. And at that point, I'd managed to work myself into a sales job in a recruitment consultancy who dealt with, among other things, the music industry. So it was starting to dovetail a bit. I've always been very proactive. I've always worked really hard, and people like me. So at this point, I was trying to forge a division in the music industry part of this company. And I was being very proactive. When people were coming in to try and find jobs, I was being really nice to them and helping them all I could and sending out letters recommending this candidate to the head of A&R or whatever. I was doing a lot more proactive stuff than just doing phone calls, which is what they did in the recruitment consultancy. And at this point, computers started coming along. So I got a bit fascinated with how they worked. And I ended up getting a really good reputation. And so when people that I tried to help actually went and got jobs, they then started bringing me in to fill their vacancies. And word processing was getting going by then. So I was able to send out letters to 10 or 20 people in the music industry at one time, which felt like a miracle,
Yeah.
Direct mail without actually having to write every letter separately was a revolution. So then I moved on a bit further. My ex-husband wanted to, he was involved in the Jive Bunny team. I don't know if you remember Jive Bunny.
Yeah.
Swing the Mood, yes.
Totally.
He was involved in that. that team, and they had 5 number-1 hits in the summer that we started going out together, and it was great fun. But my ex-husband really wanted to put together his own dance compilation albums. He had a very particular taste in soulful, jazzy house music, and I loved it as well. So we put together a record label. We got some government funding. We found ourselves some people to license music from in America and Australia and Italy and the UK, and we put together 5 albums. Well, this was pre-Ministry of Sound days, so we did okay. And then the Ministry of Sound came along and wiped everybody else off the face of the planet. But so I sort of got the entrepreneurial bug, and I'd always had it as a kid, even when I was making clothes for people and selling them. I've always been someone who makes things and sells things, but I just didn't know how to be a successful entrepreneur. And so I'm fumbling my way through the dark still. And then the record labels did all right. Then I got 2 babies, and I was trying to manage DJs from home, and you know how hard it is working from home. And my ex-husband was doing things. He became my ex-husband. He was my husband at that point. And he was doing things he was getting into online radio and stuff like that. This was back in the late 90s. And we got to a really terrible place financially. He got made redundant 3 times. I couldn't go out to work because the babies were tiny. And I was struggling to do anything at home that was earning any meaningful cash. And we got to a point where we simply couldn't pay the rent at the end of the month. So my sister said, why don't you come and stay with us? My husband's away at sea because he was in the Navy, and you can all live in our house and just give yourself a little break from having to pay London rents for a few months. And at that point, we ended up buying a house together, doing it up and making some good money with it. But at the same point, I was travelling to London and back, which was an hour and a half each way. And I saw an article in a newspaper for coaching. And I thought, I could do with some of that. I really feel like I need help working out what I can do and what I'm good at. So I rang the International Coach Federation, who, funnily enough, I just spoke for last weekend. And
wow, it's come full circle.
Yeah, really, it was really spooky. And my first coach, who I rang and said, I need a coach. And I said, I need one in the music industry. And they put me onto this lady called Rachel Turner. And she was in the audience last week. So that was really cool.
That's freaky.
But it was the beginning of my personal development journey, really. I found out about things like taking responsibility, 100% responsibility for yourself, about positive thinking and the power of, the secret and the law of attraction, and how thoughts become things, and how, you give off. I'm not a very woo-woo person. I'm a very down-to-earth person. But whenever I think about these things a lot, I realise they are true, because, if you're miserable and down and pessimistic, you're never going to achieve anything. So it's important to keep your vibes high. I've always been a quick learner and a good learner. So after a couple of years of being coached by Rachel and starting to have some real success, she said, why don't you train as a coach yourself? I signed up for Thomas Leonard's Coach University. And it was a real turning point. It was 98, 99, because a massive great box of stuff arrived from America. And I never opened it because Thomas Leonard was a genius at online learning, distance learning. He had everything online in the form of PDFs. He did everything on webinars. He did everything from America. He lived in an RV and travelled around America with an internet system. And it just opened up my eyes to the possibility of online learning. And the internet was really getting into full swing by then. And I had an idea for a business called artistmanager.com, which matched up artists and managers in the music industry. Right. Pop Idol was just getting going. There were hundreds of thousands of aspiring wannabes, and I thought they all need managers before they even need a record label. So I started to work with a programmer, and we put together this site. And I was making looking back, I was making about £1,000 a month from income, recurring income. And I read a book. It was called StrikingItRich.com by Jacqueline Easton, and it's still worth reading now because it talked about 33 websites you've probably never heard of that are making more than $1 million a year each. And they were very niche membership sites. So it really, fueled my fire around the whole artist manager thing. But just at that point, because I'm a complete person who jumps from one thing to the other, I'm a creator star personality. And I ended up reading a book at that point called Rags to Riches Through Real Estate by Russ Whitney, and ended up buying a hotel, £500,000 hotel, no money down. Don't try that at home, folks.
Take it from Nicola.
Yeah, you end up with really big repayments.
Oh my
But
God.
I had a coaching business going because I'd specialised accidentally, like you, in a niche. I knew I didn't want to be a life coach, and I was really interested in money and the psychology of money and how money works practically, because I come from a poor family. I'd never been able to hold on to money. I wasn't a saver. And I just didn't know how money worked at all. I didn't really even understand the concept of compound interest. So I was specialising in learning all about that. I was reading all the Rich Dad, Poor Dad's books, Richest Man in Babylon, The Trick to Money is Having Some, every book I could get my hands on about money and how it works. So I was accidentally becoming a wealth coach, a financial intelligence coach. And I started a business called the Money Gym, which became very well known and probably the biggest in the UK for financial education.
Wow.
And wrote a book. Well, I wrote it 101 emails and then turned it into a book. And at the same time, I had the hotel, which made everybody think, gosh, she must really know what she's doing if she can buy a hotel, no money down. So that attracted clients. We used to have workshops for the Money Gym at the hotel, and it was all going really, really, really well.
Amazing story.
Yeah, well, I mean, skint at 38, at 98, 99. And by 2006, I had a business that was nearly turning over well over $250,000 with five coaches, 2 business partners, and a 12-bedroom hotel. And then the property market crashed and the global credit crunch hit and banks stopped lending. And it turned out that a lot of our Money Gym clients were coming to us to learn how to invest in property. Because what I did was taught the 4 lanes of the wealth highway: property investing, building your own business, having an online income, and learning how to trade the stock market or invest in the stock market. We called them the 4 lanes of the wealth highway. And I thought everyone was coming for all 4, and it turned out most people were coming for property. So now the banks aren't lending and nobody can remortgage their properties, and so nobody can buy anything, so nobody wants to learn how to invest in property anymore. So literally from November 2009 to January 2010, my business, the Money Gym, just fell apart in 3 months. It was just unbelievable how quick it happened. So we had to close that, and I went into a complete meltdown because I hadn't known how I'd been successful that time. The Money Gym, I felt like it was an accidental success. And I didn't realise that it was actually to do with me and that I could do it again in a different place. So I floundered about for a long time, and I knew about internet marketing because I marketed the Money Gym, learning how to do internet marketing for the Money Gym and the hotel. So I started just getting a few internet marketing clients, but that never really worked. It kept the wolf from the door a little bit, but I didn't really know how to make it bigger or take it better. And then what happened? 2014, I came across a course. Laura Betterley, I'd been on the Internet Marketers Cruise, and I met Laura Betterley, who is very good at the kind of stuff you do as well, but in America, and liked her enormously. And she launched a Facebook ads course, which completely changed my life. Because now I've not only got away, see, the thing I've missed out here is that in the Money Gym days, I got Google slapped. I was not allowed to advertise on Google anymore because they felt that I was a get-rich-quick scheme, which is the most ironically hilarious thing I've ever heard in my whole life.
I'm assuming you tried to appeal it.
Of course, but
Yes.
they just closed my account down without any kind of recourse. And I just didn't have the will in me to go and start a new account and, get a new address and get a new card and all that stuff. So when Facebook ads came along, it really did change my life because I was suddenly able to advertise my business again. I was able to get new leads for affordable amounts of money again. It just changed everything completely. I had a product that sold, which was internet marketing mentoring, and I applied Facebook ads to it, and it just got better and better. And then I suddenly thought, I could start a Facebook ads agency. And I thought that would be a great idea. And I'm not kidding, that went to over 10,000 recurring revenue a month within 3 months.
Wow.
Because the demand was so high. And that was in 2015, I think. 2015, 2016 was my best ever year, and I had a fantastic start of 2016. I went to the Internet Marketers Cruise. I drove across America when we got off the cruise from Miami to San Diego. I went to the, what's that one big thing called? Traffic and Conversion Summit. And then I got home and I thought, I'm a bit bored. I'm going to go to Australia and go to Superfast Business. And that's where I met you, I think.
Yes, you did.
And then got home from that on the Tuesday, and on the Saturday morning, my partner died. And it was really tough, really tough. So just didn't know what to do with myself. I scrambled along for about 6 months trying to get my head straight, and just didn't work. So I then got a little windfall pension payout that I'd forgotten all about. And somebody said to me, do you want to borrow our house in Greece for 6 months? And I said, well, it was the winter. It was the coldest winter in Greece for 20 years. It was absolutely perishing, and nothing was the same because they don't have central heating out here. So it was like going back to living in the 50s, with hot water bottles and blankets and 8 layers of clothes when you're in the house to keep warm. But what it did do was it gave me space and time, and looking at beautiful surroundings. If you live somewhere beautiful, you know this, but if you don't live somewhere beautiful, you don't realise what impact it has until you go and live somewhere beautiful. It heals your soul.
I attempted to live in London, so I know what you mean about living somewhere beautiful and not living somewhere beautiful.
Bits of London are lovely. I lived in London 15 years quite happily, but I was a young woman then. And when you have kids, everything changes, I'm sure you know.
Yes.
And you want somewhere that's a bit healthier and a bit more wholesome, and where you're not worrying about your kids getting shot on the high street and things like that. So
yes,
Greece was great, and it took me 6 months. So I'm a year into my bereavement by then, and I did some courses. I spent some time doing a lot of personal development, did some courses, and I came back, ironically, to the thing that I'd been doing just after the Money Gym closed, which was running a membership site for people who wanted marketing mentoring, internet marketing mentoring. And I just came back to that, and I just thought, I'm going to invest some money in this, set it all up properly, and go at it like a train. And I was doing all that, and it wasn't working. And I remember saying to one of my mentors, what am I doing wrong? I've got all the gadgets, I've got all the automation, I've got everything working, and nobody's signing up. And they said, you haven't got an offer that converts yet. And that was a really pivotal moment, because I realised that in order to make money online, as in offline, you need an offer that people like and will buy. And it's funny because when I interviewed you sort of alluded to it. You've got to have an offer that converts, and then you've got to have a mechanism behind that for turning your prospects into sales in a really authentic way. So what I did was I went back to what I'd done with the Money Gym, and I went back to what I'd done when I set up a business for Neil, a friend of mine who's Australian. I started creating content, and then I started taking that bit of content which I was creating every week and leveraging it across all of the social media platforms, and using things like Facebook ads to boost the content and build an audience, and then advertise my free offer to the people who'd engaged with that content. And it turned into gradually what I'm calling Be Everywhere Online now, and people really respond to it.
And that's what you're going to talk about today, is your Be Everywhere Online concept, I guess, for lack of a better word, concept.
Yeah. I just ran a 30-day challenge because I was trying to work out how to get the word out to more people. And I also wanted more success stories rather than just my own, because I'd used the Be Everywhere Online concept to launch 3 businesses, and I wanted to see if it would work for other people. So I did a 30-day challenge. 80 people signed up, as is the way the 80-20 rule applied, and only 10 to 15 people actually did anything. But those 10 to 15 people got such great results, and they really started seeing action, happening from really week 1, week 2, which was fantastic. Because it's only when you follow a system like that you realise how little content marketing people actually do. They think they're doing marketing, but they're actually not doing very much at all. They write a blog post occasionally, or they put a meme onto their Facebook page, or they might make a video and put it on YouTube. But until you're doing it consistently and leveraging it across all the other platforms, you just realise how little you were actually doing. And just doing something consistently, especially with video, people look in the whites of your eyes and they feel like they know you.
Definitely.
So it really builds a bond very quickly. And so I encourage people to start with video and then strip out audio and then turn it into written word and then put it onto all the different platforms in a systematic, step-by-step way.
Okay, so let's just take a step back for a quick sec. How would you I guess it's like the concept of kind of, what's the like a surround sound kind of concept with listening to music. It's would you say it's like putting content in lots of different places, so that surround sound concept?
Yeah, it's building a brand, but without getting all corporate and wankery about it. Okay. So if you think that your brand is you, and it's how you speak, and it's how you act, and it's the things you know, and it's what you believe in, and it's your authenticity. We talked about that earlier. And what it does is if you create content in the most efficient way possible, which is video, and then you can take out audio and written from that, and then you take those bits of content and you put them onto the platforms in the way that it works most. So for example, with Facebook, you wouldn't put a YouTube link onto your Facebook page. You would actually upload your video to your Facebook page, then you boost it with a simple ad campaign that's geared towards video. I knew about this, to be honest. And then you make your offer, your free gift offer, to the people who engaged with it. Over on YouTube, you would put it on YouTube, but then you would SEO it for Google so that you're spinning that video for a key phrase. And that hopefully gets you, onto a good page on Google, and you're bringing SEO traffic. On LinkedIn, you do it differently again. And on Medium, you do it differently again. And on Instagram, you do it differently again. So it's about being hyper aware of what works on each platform.
I mean, I know a little bit about SEO to be dangerous. I'm certainly no expert, but concept of duplicate content. Are you ever sort of concerned that you're putting the same content, duplicating it in lots of different places?
Well, what you find is your prospects are not as obsessed with you as you think they should be. So they don't come across every single bit of content in lots of different places, in lots of different ways. And so they might catch a video one week, or they might catch a podcast the next week, or they might read a blog post the next week, and then you're going to send out your e-zine telling them what they've missed that week. They're not going to go and consume it all. They just haven't got time, and they haven't got the inclination. They're going to consume what they feel like at the time. So if you're only offering your content in one format, in one place, you're going to miss out on an awful lot of interaction with your prospects. But if you make it easy for them to consume your content, your valuable, good, interesting content in lots of different ways, in the way they want to at the time. So, for example, if someone's walking the dog or going to the gym, they might listen to a podcast version. Or if they're on YouTube, they might watch a video. Or if they're on Facebook, they might engage on the Facebook page or in a group. It's about giving them choices about how to engage with your content in the way that's most appropriate and enjoyable for them at the time.
Right, it's interesting. So you mentioned that the best starting point is usually for video. What if you're not really comfortable on video and you're a bit awkward?
Well, there's a lovely tool that you can use. In fact, I was just using it this afternoon, called Lumen 5, Lumen number 5. And what that enables you to do is drop a bit of like a blog post into it. And then you get to upload different pictures and choose which bits of the words go on top of which pictures. And then at the end of it, it's free, and you can download the video and you can upload that to your Facebook page or your YouTube channel. And the beauty of using video is that you can set up an audience of people who've watched it through to a certain percent.
Yes.
And then you can set up a lookalike audience.
Engagement audiences are one of my favourites.
Yeah. It's great for people with no lists, because you can start making content and generate an audience which is as good as a list, because then you've got someone to advertise to.
That's exactly right. And you can even create an engagement audience of people who've clicked on any kind of Facebook ad, even if they haven't done anything, which is another good one. You mentioned the 30-day challenge, that people were getting results. Some were getting results after 1 week. What would you say would be typical, like if you sort of do the fundamental work, and obviously this is a bit of an unfair question because it depends on your industry, so I'm mindful of that, but generally speaking, how long did it take you, for example, to start seeing some results?
Well, I've got one client, Kate, who's a radio presenter, and she coaches radio presenters, and she's now moving into coaching people who have to perform on webinar or on video conferencing within the corporate world. And she started, I always like people to think in terms of 12 weeks, because if you can think up 12 bits of content and then you create them all in, say, one day, and then you're set then for the next 3 months, you can follow my little system to leverage those bits of content. But she was getting results within 3 weeks. We were trying to sell a radio presenters course and for $97, and she started getting one-to-one clients begging her to take them on. She also found that doors started opening in terms of she was asked to speak at several places. She was also asked to present something at a big digital media company in Manchester where she lives. And then she got in touch with one of the heads of one of the big radio stations, and he'd already heard of her. And funnily enough, even within that 12-week period, she went into her local Waitrose and she'd made a video about how to stop when you're presenting. And the guy behind the counter said, "You're that lady, aren't you?" So even the guy in Waitrose had heard of her.
That's amazing.
because she'd been boosting her videos everywhere, But there was a lady who I just worked with recently who it didn't work for. And it was nothing to do with her or her content or anything. It was just the industry was going through a state. It was about, exporting overseas if you're a business. And because of Brexit and everyone's so uncertain, it didn't work for her to attract new clients because nobody wants to get involved in exporting now until they know what the rules are going to be after Brexit. So it depends on the industry, you're right.
That was actually going to be my next question. I mean, so that's obviously a unique example, but can you think of some other industries that you think it wouldn't work for? I mean, obviously the Brexit one is unique and it's sort of current.
It seems to work best where you're talking to the video camera and you're talking to someone who's going to make the buying decision and who can put their hand in their pocket and bring out their credit card. It seems to be difficult, generally, I think this is in pay-per-click. I don't know if your experience is the same. It seems to be difficult when you're trying to reach people like human resource managers or people who manage call centres. Where the person concerned finishes their job and they clock off at the end of the day and they go home and they don't think about work. It seems to be quite difficult to get in front of them unless, you're going to go to LinkedIn. And I still think it's more difficult. I think you've got to try and find the purchaser or the purchase decision maker and aim your content at them. It seems to work much better if you do that.
Yeah, interesting. Do you find that, I would imagine that the success with this really hinges on the person's ability to really hone in on exactly who they're talking to. And I know from my own experience of dealing with clients and also, coaching students and how to do this stuff, like many people struggle with trying to work out who exactly they're talking to, their pains and frustrations and what thoughts are going through their head. Do you find the same thing?
Absolutely right. Trying to make people make a decision is really difficult.
Yeah, like you say, who's your target customer? Everyone. Wrong answer.
Yeah, no. Tearing your hair out behind the scenes. Now, the best thing is this. What I do is I get around this by saying to them, look, we're just going to make 12 bits of content for one target market and we're going to evaluate how successful that was. And because they're not using anything fancy, there's no fancy equipment involved, they can actually just do this with their computer or their phone. And then, once they've learned how to do it, I'm talking about a £5 a day ad spend. None of it is very expensive and it's all using free tools. So why don't we just make 12 bits of content for the most low-hanging fruit kind of customer? And then who've you had such profitable customers now? And then if they don't know or it's a new business, I just say, okay, so let's pick one target market and make 12 bits of content for them and see what happens. And then at the end of 12 weeks, you can aim at another target market and make 12 bits of content for them. So by making it cyclical like that, it's not making them make a decision that they think they've got to live with for the rest of their lives.
And it also makes it very digestible. Like everyone can think of 12 pieces of content, so it's breaking it up into bite-sized chunks. And then I think it's very clever.
Videos only need to be 5, 6, 7 minutes long. They need to be under 10 minutes. Otherwise, you can't put them onto LinkedIn natively. And that's really important at the moment because LinkedIn are really pushing video hard. So if you put a video onto LinkedIn, you're going to get lots and lots of views organically that you wouldn't have had otherwise without needing to pay to boost them.
Interesting. So, if, let's say you create your 12 bits of content and obviously the idea is that you've done that huge amount of upfront work, but you've got that for the next 12 weeks. And
that's your social media sorted for the next 3 months.
Wow. So you stagger it, I would imagine.
Yeah, you do.
One topic per week?
So you create your 12 bits of content and then you release it one bit a week. And every day in that week, you're doing a different bit of thing with that content. So, you might be making an Instagram meme on Thursday. And then on Friday, you'll be uploading to LinkedIn. On Saturday, you'll be releasing the audio of the video to your podcast. And on Sunday, you'll be promoting your podcast episode on your Facebook page, your LinkedIn. So you also promote each bit of content in each different place.
Yes, I understand. And do you find that you link, let's say, one of the social media posts to another social media post, or do you always link back to your main website?
Always link back to your main website. Think of it like a cartwheel. Your main website is the place where the sales get made, unless they're on, perhaps they're on you have a call with the client, but the call is always requested on your website. And so think of it like a cartwheel. The prospective clients move around the outside. Each spoke of the cartwheel is a social media hub. So you're moving in and out of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat, whatever you like, or YouTube. But the core of your business is definitely always your website, and that sits in the middle.
Yeah, amazing. That sounds very interesting. And, I really like the way that you make it bite-sized and digestible for people, because I know from talking to clients, so often, and people get very overwhelmed with all that has to be done and all the content that needs to be produced and syndicated out. So you mapping it out in such a way, I think it's really beneficial to people. And I'm not surprised people get results, because if they've got a plan, they kind of know what to do then.
Yeah. And, the thing is, I really encourage people to be 100% authentic. I am not beautifully made up when I make my content. I'm often, a bit hot because it's grease. There's often buzzing chainsaws in the background, or just as I get started, that some buzzy beetle flies past my head. But I'm 100% authentic like that, and people know that I am actually in grease and actually working. But some of my clients are a lot more polished, but I really instill in them that they've got to be themselves. I managed to get a lot of people onto video who really don't like the way they look and sound. And I say, but your clients, your potential future clients, don't know what you think you're supposed to look like in your head. They just see you sharing fantastic information in an authentic and direct way. And video is fantastic. When, someone looks you in the eye from a video, you feel like they're talking to you directly.
Absolutely. And I would imagine, sort of touching on your authenticity point, that I know for myself, like, we live in a world where all these Instagram accounts are so beautiful and polished, and Facebook profiles look, people got the most perfect lifestyle. I think that, showing that authenticity is really important. It would make, your personality shine through.
Yeah, my daughter Phoebe is a pretty girl, and she's got a YouTube video, a channel where she shows people how to do makeup. And when she puts her makeup on, she looks absolutely stunning. But her most successful videos are the ones where she tries out weird face masks. And with a combination of a little bit of SEO knowledge. So I taught her how to put the key phrase in the raw video that she uploads, in the title of the YouTube video, the first line and the last paragraph of the description of the video. I've, a few more tips like that, tags, put in the tags. She managed to get to the first page of Google for Keome, which is Keome, hydration face mask. And her video got to page 1 of Google, and she got 6,000 views in 1 week.
Wow.
The thumbnail she used makes her look like Hannibal Lecter. So it's that grabs people's attention. She's gone on to have another face mask video where she's peeling something off her nose, and that's done even better. And the ones where she makes herself real and not groomed and not beautiful are the ones that do the best, ironically. Because, perfection is boring, isn't it?
Well, I guess, yeah, but some people don't agree with that. Some people, perfection is, what's the word I'm looking for? The only option,
Yeah. Well, if I tried to be perfect in everything I did, Ilana, I would never get anything done at all. So I go for good enough.
There is something in that for all of us. Listen, I'm mindful of the time. You've been really, really generous with your knowledge and your insights and all that you're doing. So where can people find out more information about you?
Okay, well, NicolaCairncross.com is my sort of hub website. And if you look on the top menu up there, there'll be a link to the 30-day challenge, which is completely free. And let's, come on in. Let's see if we can help you get online and get yourself being everywhere.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Nicola, for coming on today's show. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, maybe I'll even give this a shot, and I'll report back with my result.
Well, I'd love to give you some help on that. So just shout.
All right. Thank you. You have been listening to the Talking Web Marketing podcast. For more information or resources on today's episode, head on over to talkingwebmarketing.com.